Hello, everybody. It's Mrs. Pound. We're studying Chapter 23, the Nervous System, from BJU Biology's 4th edition. We're going to move on to Section 23B, the sensory organs. Our objectives for this video are to identify and describe the minor senses, list the cutaneous receptors, and explain how taste and smell are detected. So first, let's take a look at 23.3, the minor senses. The first one are the senses of the skin. So in the skin, you have cutaneous receptors. We might recognize cutaneous. We had the word subcutaneous. Okay, so cutaneous has to do with skin. And these are special sensory receptors in the skin. They sense cold, heat, pain, pressure, and touch. So those are the sensations that we can feel with cutaneous receptors. Now, one thing you may have experienced is referred pain. This is pain that seems to be in one area of the body but originates in a different area of the body. Uh, so perhaps you've experienced this. I hope you haven't experienced my example. And this is a feeling of pain in the left shoulder and arm during a heart attack because the pain is actually in your heart, not in your shoulder or arm. Let's move on to taste and smell. Olfactory nerve endings are associated with smell. So maybe remember that old factories are stinky and smelly. Okay, so olfactory and sense of smell. The senses of smell and taste are less acute when you have a cold because odor molecules stimulate the olfactory receptors. The olfactory receptors are poorly ventilated. The ability to detect odors is greatly increased by sniffing. When you have a cold, though, odors cannot reach the olfactory receptors because you're all stuffed up, you're all congested, you're all icky and gross, and you can't sniff and smell things. And much of taste is actually smell. If you can't smell, your sense of taste is not going to be very good. And finally, the last thing I want to talk about is accommodation. This is when sensory receptors become insensitive to a specific stimulus. And I have a skunk here because skunk, when you first smell it, smells really, really bad. But I had a friend who they actually had a skunk get into their house and spray in their house. And they thought they got the smell out, but when they went to other places, like when they went to school, people could still smell the skunk on them. That's because they experienced accommodation where their olfactory receptors became desensitized basically to the smell of the skunk because they were around it all the time. And that happens a lot with smells. So our objectives today were to identify and describe the minor senses, list the cutaneous receptors, and explain how taste and smell are detected. Don't forget your 5 questions in the margin and keep watching to answer the questions at the end of the video.